Very good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's uLaw webinar. The topic for today's webinar is Document Management Simplified. We're going to specifically focus on how you as a legal firm are able to get information, store information, and predominantly focus on the different types of documents that you may be needing to store as part of your practice management components of your business. And so that's going to be the crux of the webinar today. This webinar is not accredited for any CPD credits yet. So I just wanted to highlight that this particular webinar will not be accredited for any CPD credits. You are able to watch many of the previous webinars that have been accredited, such as the one that we had last week, talking about CX, UX, BX, and PX. You're able to go to our YouTube channel, view the entire video, and then, of course, add that as part of your CPD for professionalism credits under your different provincial law websites. As always, please feel free to use the chat window at all times to ask any questions. Both myself and the support team at uLaw will be more than happy to answer them as we move along. Like every other uLaw webinar, today's webinar has this specific agenda. We're certainly going to talk about document management, most specifically in the context of document management storage and retrieval in the cloud. We're going to talk about some of the key players that we integrate with today, and also quickly talk about how easy it is to set up these integrations by yourself as a legal firm that is looking to utilize the uLaw system or the platform, and how you and your other colleagues within your firm are able to create these integrations or set up these integrations in less than a click of a few buttons. So that's going to be the essence or the agenda, if you will, the main agenda for today's webinar. Okay. We've delivered these webinars in the past too, and we continue to improve our platform. We continue to improve the connectivity, the integration between different systems. We're looking to innovate and connect with many more players as we improve our platform. But before I get started with the actual integration aspects between uLaw and third-party systems, I certainly want to highlight some of the pros and cons of what you should consider when you're considering cloud-based document management. And for those who don't know, we at uLaw, we're a Canadian company based out of Ottawa, and we deliver practice management, legal accounting, and business accounting all in a single platform. And as part of the extension of our practice management suite of features, we of course provide the integration with cloud-based third-party cloud storage or cloud-based storage solutions. And as we explored that ever-evolving space of cloud storage, as legal practitioners, I'm pretty sure you're well aware of this growth, well aware of the different options that you have, but keeping simplicity, cost effectiveness, and some of the solutions that are more readily available for you to utilize. Based on that little survey that we did internally, talked to our clients, understood what the marketplace had to offer, we first and foremost started with the two big providers that have in many ways commoditized and made it easy and commercialized this for even the legal firms to start utilizing. And we started with Google Drive, and then we've evolved it to OneDrive, and then we continue to now take that to Dropbox. Of course, with Dropbox recently being acquired by Salesforce, we're starting to see those integrations evolve into a different avatar, if you will. So I'll focus my webinar and today's demonstration between Google Drive and OneDrive. And if you really look at cloud-based document management, one of the most simple reasons why this became a bit of a commonality now in the last few years amongst legal firms is the ability for you as the legal practitioner or the business owner essentially to access these documents at any time, anywhere, across any device. And I'm sure you've heard of this tagline across anything and everything today, right? Anytime, anywhere, any device. And it is true with regards to cloud management, cloud storage as well. As a legal firm, I'm sure you can very well appreciate the amount of documents that you do need to generate, the amount of documents that you need to collect, the amount of documents that you create from as part of a workflow as you go about your practice management. Right? So right from that client intake form, which is really your first step for your client to integrate and talk to your firm, to all the supporting supplemental documents that you need as part of onboarding that client, whether it's a driver's license, passport, any other additional documents that you need, the need for digital signatures as part of these documents. So you can very well appreciate that there's a lot of documents, a lot of paper involved, and the opportunity that you have is to now make that workflow, make that whole intake and generating these documents more digital, and try and slowly get away from having to print, scan, and upload. It certainly is still very much a habit within legal firms to write on paper, print, scan, and upload, and that's okay. But slowly as you evolve to be more digitally ready, you would notice the more digital you are, the easier it is for you to take advantage of this anytime, anywhere, any device tagline. That was really the convenience of accessing these files was one of the first push factors for legal firms to start exploring the use of cloud storage. But then came the question around the sensitiveness of these documents, given that this is, of course, a very sensitive area where you're sharing or storing information regarding your clients. And there's a lot of fear factor around the security of these cloud-based or cloud storage systems. And with time, as technology has evolved around the legal tech, so has the components of security with regards to storage that has evolved with time. I'm sure you can start to see from a web-based perspective or from a digital transformation, there are two major platforms that you as a consumer are starting to utilize. One that's all web-based. These are all browser-based, and of course there are many different browsers that you may be using, right from Google Chrome to Firefox, to your Safari on your MacBook, to the internet, Microsoft Edge. So there's many different browser players. And you would start noticing when you're starting to utilize your bank for your online banking, the common term that you come across is the 256-bit encryption. So it starts really with the encryption. And the second layer of security that people apply is around two-factor authorization, really making sure that it's you who is actually accessing these files. The third, more granular level of security that you can apply to documents is at either the REST or at the client-side encryption. So basically encrypting the document before you even upload it, or password protecting these documents even before you upload it. So the sophistication of these cloud-based storages are just evolving with time, making it a little bit more easier for you as a legal practitioner to ease out on your fear factor around the security and access points. With security, of course, comes automated backups, especially because this is cloud-based storage. And Google and Microsoft, the top players around the document management, make it very easy and almost behind the scenes where you don't have to worry about the backup. They pretty much do that backup for you for that very nominal monthly or yearly subscription cost that you have. Now, the reason why we chose Google and Microsoft for cloud storage to begin with is we started to realize that as part of running your business, businesses either go down the path of working with predominantly, let's put it that way, I don't want to generalize it, but predominantly having a Gmail account or a Google small business suite of applications that they use, right from their email to a domain to many different tools like Google Drive, or you could have third-party applications all associated with the G Business Suite, as they call it. Or when you start your business, as part of purchasing your email and all of those other components, legal practitioners or legal firms, law firms, tend to go down the Microsoft route of having Office 365, whether that's downloaded on your laptop or desktop or it's on the cloud, making it easier for you to access your emails. Your documents are on OneDrive, all of your Word, presentations, Excel sheet, etc. So these are two common systems that we pretty much have a good preview to. And if you look at the storage that's provided, from a cost effectiveness of cloud-based storage, instead of a legal firm having to spend a lot of money in having your own document storage system, we recognize both Google Drive and OneDrive for a very nominal cost give you a lot of storage. In fact, they start you off with a free package coming along with either just a simple Gmail account or a Office 365 account, almost close to 15 gigabytes of storage for Google Drive and a starting point of 5 gigabytes for OneDrive. And I would say for less than about $100 a year, you can actually upgrade even as high as a terabyte of storage capacity for your firm. Okay? And you're going to notice that this is going to evolve with time as well. It's going to make it further more commoditized. And we believe we're on the right path having integrated with these two systems. The final aspect of consideration is the various different formats of digital documents that you as a legal firm are going to need to store, right? From PDFs to Word documents to GIF images, PNG files, mostly the scanned images that you may get from your different devices that you use. Or today you could even take a picture right on your mobile phone of a receipt and make it as part of your overall office expense, or a disbursement, for example, as part of the document management too, right? So there's two major silos of your practice management that involves document storage and document management. One, everything that regards to your client. As part of that intake, driver's license, it could be other documents, intake form that are signed. That's real estate transactions. I'm sure you have other systems that you use to get these documents digitally transferred over. It could be the receipts, as I mentioned, for your disbursements, etc. The other silo that you should keep in mind as you consider digital storage is everything around how you manage your business from a business accounting perspective. All of your office expenses, the receipts that come along with the payments for that, right? And if you can come up with a common storage that can accommodate both of these different silos for your business, then you're lessening, of course, the amount of research and the spread of applications that you're using to manage this. And uLaw being a central platform that allows you as a legal firm to manage both these silos pretty much expands the capacity or the use of these document management across Google Drive and OneDrive for both these silos. So not only can uLaw allow you to upload digital documents onto your OneDrive or Google Drive in the context of a matter, for example, or a client, but it can also allow you to upload digital documents into Google Drive or OneDrive in the context of the accounting needs of your business. Okay? Now we're looking at some of the perceived notions or most definitely certain things that you need to keep in mind. There's always two sides to a coin. So we certainly want to embrace and talk about the cons. And this is important because as you draft that retainer letter or draft that engagement letter, these are some of the things that you probably want to put in these documents as certain risks that are involved with certain medias of communication. I'm sure you can appreciate that today, as legal firms, you do indulge in utilizing email as a mode of communication that's accepted now as a formal means of communication, right? And I'm sure the retainer letter and the engagement letter talks a little bit about the risks involved in dealing with electronic modes of communication, right? It still is very much possible. And again, you need to clearly understand the risk-reward of any digital mode of communication, and document storage is no different. It just is a additional tool in the arsenal of tools that you use today as a digital law firm to correspond and do business with your clients. And in doing that, of course, one of the disadvantages of a cloud-based storage is the service level agreement that you're now signing up with these providers, right? Many of them, of course, have a very high uptime of 99.9%. There's the commonly understood weekend shutdowns if needed to refresh servers to make it easier and faster for us. But these are planned shutdowns that mostly happens at midnight and you know ahead of time. So that's something to keep in mind and consider. There's, of course, a certain incremental pricing, which is actually a good thing because you don't have to pay for it up front. You can slowly grow into this. But it's certainly something to think about as your file storage increases. There's most certainly going to be cost associated with maintaining that higher space. It's pretty common now as we continue to use the iCloud for music or movies and things of that nature. It's a very similar practice in business too. And talking about the need for internet, so if there's real-time need to access information or documents anytime, anywhere, using any device, then internet is going to be the underlying current that's utilized to access information. And as we evolve, whether we like it or not, from 3G to 4G and now even to 5G, which of course empowers us with fast internet right at our fingertips on our mobile phones, this particular component of our day-to-day lives is only going to improve, and the disadvantages and the risks of these disadvantages are just decreasing. And the third aspect of needing this internet, or the second aspect really, is systems such as Google Drive and OneDrive do allow you to download apps on your phones or your iPads or Android devices, and certainly do allow you to download these documents, very similar to your Netflix, which allows you to download movies and watch them offline. Once upon a time when we used to fly airplanes, we used to do that. We hope we get back there soon, but very similar to that experience, as long as you've downloaded these documents that are, of course, secured, you log in using your secured username password, access these documents and make them available offline upfront when there is internet, and then you can very much access them offline too. But if you do need real-time access, like anything else that you need to have real-time access, you certainly do need the internet. Okay? And you can most certainly Google this across various different price plans that you have between OneDrive, Google Drive, and other storages. uLaw today connects with Google Drive and OneDrive. Now coming to really the setup of uLaw with your Google Drive as well as your OneDrive account, we're going to after the slide share, I'm going to most definitely spend some time to showcase to you how that's done. It's a one-time setup, and if your information does change, then of course you would have to change it within uLaw too. And what we've tried to accomplish is, without having to reinvent the wheel, some of these big boys have already paved way to provide us with this great infrastructure that allows you to store documents, retrieve documents across various formats, fast and easy. And we've now just taken advantage of that infrastructure provided and the security layers added for you as a legal practitioner who uses uLaw to quickly store these digital documents within either OneDrive or Google Drive, but have it very well within the context. Because Google Drive or OneDrive would not necessarily understand the context. When I mean context, if it's a driver's license, it's in context if it's stored under a matter, because you know that this is a driver's license received from this client for this matter. And it's part of that Law Society compliance checklist too. Is as you did that client intake, what was the type of identity document that you received from the client to validate that it was her or him to begin with, right? And all of the other documents that go along with either your compliance building or just doing business with your client gets digitally added into a Google Drive or OneDrive, but all within a referential context in uLaw that understands whether it was related to a matter, and it comes right under the matter, making it easier for you to access, having an audit history, or an audit trail rather. Likewise, within the context of your business, whether it's for the current year, what are these office expenses for, right? If you had a Starbucks receipt, of course there's a date time stamp within that receipt, but if you can store it under the context of the actual financial year, and then store it under a particular month, that it makes it a little bit more easier for you to understand the context, right? So it's drag and drop, easy to organize. And the last thing that we want to leave you with is, in addition to what we offer in a secured layer that connects uLaw to your Google Drive and OneDrive, in addition to that, you certainly have options that allows you to further secure these files. So before you even upload these documents into Google Drive or OneDrive, you could use third-party tools to encrypt these documents, or if you're not looking to encrypt them, you can very simply password protect these documents before you even upload them. So that even if you try to retrieve or click on this file within Google Drive, it would still ask you for a password before that information or document is retrieved, right? So really depending on your appetite for security, today cloud storage systems as well as cloud-enabled solutions offer you a wide range of options to explore to ensure that that level of sensitiveness of your security needs are met. Okay. And we're starting to explore Canadian cloud storage companies. There aren't many that are native Canadian. There are a few. And we're starting to explore and partner with these providers and see how best we can integrate with them, because then that adds to our core foundational views or vision of being a Canadian company working with other Canadian companies as well. So long story short, as a legal firm, the benefit that you should and look to get out of this integration is the fact that it's one simple, intuitive interface that facilitates this connection between your uLaw platform and your choice of either Microsoft's OneDrive or Google's Google My Drive, if you will, making it easy for you to now, once the connection has been made, for you to just drag and drop and organize these files in the context within uLaw. Of course, where we've seen the maximum benefit for our clients by having a certain practice or a discipline of how they manage these documents is at the time of audit, or even for you to internally audit the completedness of a file, where as you upload these documents into these stored systems, almost like a second habit, it all benefits from having a much clearer vision and an audit trail of every step along the way that has been done, the different documents that were generated and stored, so you're not scampering if you've just stored it across multiple devices. Okay? All right, so that was a pretty quick slide share and hopefully to the point. So I'm going to spend hopefully the next 15 to 20 minutes to kind of just walk you through how this is done with the uLaw. There's a quick question about integrating with uLaw with private cloud servers. Most definitely yes. We're currently definitely discussing with a few providers, but what's important is that there's a certain standard that we've set up for security. So these private cloud servers need to help maintain and be in the same line, if you will, with regards to security. But if you do have certain platforms or providers that you're looking at, please feel free to email us at support@ulawpractice.com. Very much as part of our DNA is to continue to expand our feature set based on client feedback. So we're more than happy to do that R&D on your behalf. But keep in mind, there's most definitely a certain standard that we have to keep up, to keep our brand, to keep our name, to ensure that there's the security standards that our team has defined for this area of practice is well maintained. Okay, so for others who just joined and want to understand or learn more about who we are as a company, we've been in business for just over 10 years. We serve several hundred legal firms across Canada. A good majority of our clients are very much in our backyard in Ontario, but we pretty much have a client in almost every province. We're legal accounting, practice management, and business accounting in one simple cloud solution, maybe one of the most cost-effective as well, providing various different integrations for small, medium, and growing firms to take advantage of. Okay. And of course, we do offer a free 30-day trial that allows you to understand how best uLaw can better serve your needs. Okay, let me quickly change from presentation mode into demo mode. And I've always utilized this demo account of Mr. Roger Moore, who's a legal practitioner here in Canada. And in fact, I'm going to see if I do have time later towards the end of the webinar, maybe walk you through some of the more modern approaches to document information collection from your clients. So we're making some inroads into developing client portals. So when that involves and that evolves in time, you're going to notice that you're going to be able to provide your end client with not only are you be able to store documents that are necessary, you would also eventually be able to provide access to important documents that you believe your clients need access to as well. Okay? So the back and forth between your customers as legal firms are going to be more seamless, with your clients also having access to certain documents. For example, if they made a payment and you generate a receipt, today if you're emailing them that receipt, as we evolve this client portal technology with the uLaw, you would notice that you would just be able to drag and drop that receipt in the specific folder that we've associated for that specific client. So when they log into your client portal on your behalf, they would notice that the receipt is very much there, secured and digitally available on the cloud. Alrighty, so there's a quick question around already having a Google Drive. Well, certainly, if you already have Google Drive, it's just a matter of reorganizing. So I'll probably explain quickly how we connect with Google Drive, and then it's just a matter of quickly reorganizing your existing files. So if you really look at uLaw practice, again, as I mentioned, cloud-based legal accounting practice management, but one of the first, of course, fundamental steps towards any of this context building is creating a client. Prior to that, I'm going to first showcase to you how does this connection happen between this uLaw platform and any choice of document management storage that you have, right? And here in the top right, we have our settings. If you notice, if I actually get into my settings, there's of course settings for various different aspects of you utilizing the uLaw platform, but I'll draw your attention to this tab called Matter, okay? And maybe halfway through the settings of this Matter, you're going to notice that there's a drop-down which says Matter Documents. By default, this would be set to none, because as we first start off your account, we're not completely aware what type of a system that you may be using. Okay? So by default, this would be set to none, and where this gets reflected is in the actual Matter itself. So let me go ahead and create, let's say, a client. And of course, as I mentioned, there's various ways in which we now facilitate this client intake. If it's a phone call and they're willing to give you all the information right then and there, you could just go ahead and say add new contact, add to clients, and enter all the information. Right? This is very standard in uLaw today. Another way of doing it is sending your client what we call as a client intake form. Okay? So you could go ahead and send your client a client intake form that they would then fill out, and then you are able to upload that information right into uLaw. The third that I was talking about is the client portal. So if you know an email address of your client, you can go ahead and add that email address. Now we would allow you to generate a very secure secret key, or in fact, no, we actually give you that secret key that you generate on your own on behalf of uLaw. So every firm has a client portal secret key that we establish with you. And with the combination of an email for the client and that very secure secret key, you are now able to generate a very unique link to that client portal. And of course, you can take that and then send them a little email. Right? Of course, you can create your own templates for these, but I'm sure you get the idea, and this is basically what gets sent. Regards, Roger Moore. Okay, let's say something like that. Okay? So this is another more newer way that we allow you to collect information from your client. And that client intake form, whether it's sent as a PDF to your client or received in the form of this email fill out. So if you notice, once you send that email, we receive this email such as this. And when your client receives that email, she or he can actually fill out this information. So this is very similar to you being able to add that client intake form, which is pretty much the same information, just given to you in a different format. Okay, so first name, last name, all the important information that you need to capture, very similar to the mandatory requirement of client intake, because the more information you capture from your client, the better it is for your compliance as well. So let me give this a try. Okay. So let's say this is Whitby Avenue, Whitby, Ontario. I'll say a random postal code there. Again, if there's any employment information, you can fill that. Again, very similar to what we would ask in the client intake form. I'm going to go ahead and fill out some information. So we've kind of made this mandatory for you to be able to fill out some information. This can be configured. And then comes down to the matter information. So need a new wills and estate draft to be done. And I can say we heard you through Instagram. Okay. And you can take this information and have them send over a driver's license, or this can be done after the fact as well. So maybe they just send you some basic information. So this is just you trying to get basic information. Now here's the critical component from a security aspect, right? If I go ahead and try my different email address, and again, we ensure that it's CAPTCHA, so it's not a random person bombarding your law firm with information. That information, once entered, gets sent back to you. Okay? So you can have this configured where you get an email sent back to you as soon as the form is filled, or that information can just come directly into your uLaw account, however you feel fit. Okay? So this is one form of client intake. Of course, the other traditional way is for you to fill out a form, or you can send that form to your client to have them fill it out, and that's possible too. Now let's say we've created that client. It takes a couple of minutes for information to flow back in. There it is. You've got Gerald Butler, the information coming in right away from that online client intake form. You can even search it up, but let me go back to the dashboard and just click on it. So again, you don't have to wait for it to show up in your dashboard. We can even notify it to you by email. But this is a more modern, newer way of collecting information. Again, as part of that document management area of practice, we're starting to improvise how easy it has become to collect data, collect documents from your clients. And let's say we go ahead and create a matter for Mr. Gerald. Of course, this now gets into the workflow of uLaw, where you could do a conflict check. So all the information that was filled out online is very much available. In fact, if you go ahead and edit this particular contact information, you notice that whatever information was captured or they had said that they would submit is captured right under the context of that contact. Okay. Now, the one thing, of course, is you can go ahead and make this a little more informative for you. Now, once you realize that it was through Instagram, you can just go ahead and say social media, or if you have Instagram, you can add that to this list as well. Okay. I'm just going to go and say other. Nope. It's always fun when you lose internet. And that's one of the cons we spoke about. So all right, I do apologize for that. I have moved to a better place in my wonderful work from home experience. So let's go back to that. So I'm going to go ahead, create a matter for Gerald Butler. And with another 15 minutes remaining, walk you through how the document management experience can be a little bit more easier for this client. Alrighty, so here is our client. I'm going to go ahead and try and accomplish what I did the other time. So I'm going to say other. All right, so one of the questions was if I already have a Google Drive, how do I now rearrange or reorganize my contacts, and how do I connect it with uLaw? And if you notice, we went to our settings. By default, it's set to none. So I just wanted to share with you what that experience would look like when you create a matter. So let's say this is a Wilson estate matter, and I'm going to say creation of a will. I can give it any title, really depending on the area of practice. And now if you notice, there's a unique identifier with the uLaw that is always, of course, the way I mentioned it, it is pretty unique. We use the first alphabet of the first name, the first alphabet of the last name, and use the hash on today's date and time, so that's always unique. And this is the matter or the file number. Right here under this matter, where you pretty much live and breathe every day, we have this tab called Documents. And when initially it is set to none, we of course clearly state that you need to configure our platform in our settings to be used with matter documents. So to do that, we go right away into settings, go under matter, go back to our matter documents where it says none, you would set it up to Google Drive if you have one, or OneDrive if you have that, and click Save. So always remember, you have to click the Save button, especially if you make changes. And once we've done that, if I now do go back to Matters, it automatically allows me to choose the Google account that I would like for uLaw to be connected. And I'm choosing my uLaw Gmail account. And as I mentioned, with every Gmail account, you have your own Google Drive. And that's what I have right here. And what uLaw has done is we automatically, once that connection is made, so let me just refresh to give you that perspective, you would notice that this little tab which says No Documents Found, once you see this, you can be rest assured that uLaw has made a connection between your uLaw account and your own Gmail account that we just connected with. And what we would do is we would create a folder called uLawPractice and create two subfolders under that automatically called Matter and Accounts. And under Matter, if you go back to our file, GB242, we would automatically create a folder with that folder name. So imagine if you were using your own laptop, and the old school way of storing files locally in a computer or a laptop, you would pretty much create a folder with the client's name. The only difference is that now you create a folder, or we automatically create a folder with the file number being the unique identifier. Right? And let's say there's a driver's license, let's say there's a passport that you receive. You don't have to, you can just digitally store it right under this folder now, all within the context. So let's say there's a driver's license. You can pretty much drag and drop it into this folder. So that's the digital storage. But behind the scene here, that storage reflects under the context of documents for this matter under this file. Not only is it stored, you can actually click on it and open that file at any time. Of course, this is my favorite, Mr. Bean's driver's license for demo purposes, but you get the idea. So let's say I go ahead and generate a document. So let's say I'm going to generate a retainer letter. I'll say I generate a flat rate. I'm able to store that document as well. So now I've got a GIF file. I've just uploaded a PDF document. And as I continue to upload documents digitally in that storage, because we've made that connection, it's readily available here. And I can sort it based on the date. I even know the type of file that there is. And if you're collaborating with others in your firm, you can do so by utilizing the description. So if you actually go to a particular file, let's say driver's license, you can essentially say license received by front office, and automatically you would notice that information getting updated in uLaw as well. Okay? So it's as simple as how I showed you for you to first make the connection between a matter and your choice of an online or a digital storage system between OneDrive and Google Drive. And if you have OneDrive, very similar, you would just choose the Microsoft OneDrive option. And very similar to the Google Drive experience, also under OneDrive, we would automatically create for you a folder called uLawPractice and 2 subfolders, accounts and matter. And it's pretty much the same drill. Same drill as this. Okay? And of course, as you delete these digital files right within the Google Drive or OneDrive account, it would not be made available to you here. So uLaw as a platform does not necessarily store these digital documents. It gives it a nice context by storing it within your choice of online storage. Okay? As I mentioned, you can have your PDF documents, your Word documents, your GIF files, various different formats that can be automatically stored and retrieved at any time. We also have clients today who do download their OneDrive or Google Drive apps. So both these platforms do provide you with business apps that you can download from your Play Store or your iOS store. And exactly what I did with drag and drop can be accomplished with you taking a picture right from your Google Drive or OneDrive phone app and then uploading it into your choice of folders. Very similar to the context of the matter, of course, we have right under accounts our documents as well. Okay. So as I mentioned earlier, if you have business receipts, if you have office expenses, if you have contract agreements between your vendors and yourself, all of that information, very similar to that of the matter experience, can be uploaded right here under accounts. Because as I mentioned before, under uLaw, we not only have the matter folder, we also have an accounts folder. And you can create subfolders and pretty much store documents in the context of the year, the month, and that would be automatically made available right under this. In fact, many of our clients, one of the things that they do is, for example, create your monthly compliance, and they upload their monthly reconciliation documents into these folders, so that at the end of that month's monthly reconciliation report is very much made available under accounts, because it's really not something specific to a client. The monthly reconciliation reports are more for your legal business, right? So that's one of the more common documents that you would notice. So if I'm generating, let's say, the trust ledger for this month, or any document, as I mentioned, even receipts, as long as it's in the context of that particular relation to your business need, then it's very much readily available. It's the same drill. Instead of storing it under a matters context, you store it under the context of the accounts. Okay? There you go. And again, you are able to click on it right from within uLaw and open it in the context. Right? This is a PDF document that's digitally stored. It's as good as you opening it right from Google Drive. It's the same document. So I do apologize for a little bit of that disconnect. I was wanting to showcase the important aspect of how we deliver it. But this is exactly what I'm hopefully I've answered the question that you had in terms of how you would be able to maximize the use of your current files and folders. The most important first step, especially with regards to your client, is the ability for you to create the context, and for which you create the client within uLaw, and you create the matter within uLaw, and then you add the settings right on the top right to tell us the choice of digital storage system that you need. So if there's any technical difficulties in connecting between uLaw and your choice of digital storage system, do reach out to us and we'll be more than happy to help you solve that issue. Typically what happens is, based on the browser that you're using, there may be certain cookies enabled or certain things that restrict connectivity to third-party applications, just as part of an added security. Because what happens is, when we do make that connection, so let's say it's connected to OneDrive. When you do open that first folder, it's going to ask you which email address or which OneDrive account or Google Drive account do you want to connect uLaw with, right? At that particular time, depending on the browser that you may be using, there may be a few aspects that we need to ensure that it's checked off. And if that's the case, that's very much part of our support, that we help you facilitate that. Okay? Yeah, please feel free to reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to help. So with regards to OneDrive, it's pretty much the same experience. You would click on Documents. When in doubt, you can just click on the Authorize button. It tells you which particular account that you want to access. And then you click the Refresh button till you see the No Documents Found enabled. And once you've seen that, then you should notice, take the file number, let's say GG235. So go under your OneDrive account, go under Matter, and there you go. You should see the GG23520. Has the same experience. So if I were to go into Compliance and say Client ID Verification, it's the same drag and drop experience that we had. Of course, each platform has its own intuitiveness built right in. It just tells you this is a PDF document, you can generate Word, but to uLaw, the experience is still the same. If I were to click on that PDF document, this time, instead of opening up your Google Drive, it opens up the OneDrive, right? And there is the PDF. Yes, we are able to integrate with Dropbox. So again, if you are a current user of uLaw, please do reach out to us, and we'll be happy to understand the version that you have currently, and then facilitate that connection accordingly. All right, so again, I know that was a quick, fast, and easy explanation of our online storage, but the most important thing to keep in mind is, once you've made that connection, once you've connected it with your choice of platform, you don't have to change anything within uLaw unless the platform itself changes or the credentials change. So let's say you've updated your password, then you may have to come in here and just click Refresh, and then or Authorize. And what that does is that it reactivates that connectivity between uLaw and that choice of platform. It allows you to log in now to your preferred choice of account. And if you've updated your password, you may have to re-enter that password here as well. But like anything else, we're looking to make a safe, secure connection with that account. One question is around connecting it with a hard drive. So because we're connecting with cloud-based storage, so when we're clicking this, this takes it to a cloud-initiated link. So we're not able to click on a cloud storage system because we don't know whether it's a MacBook, a Windows machine, what version. So we don't necessarily connect yet through this way for uLaw's document connection with storage system. But what I've seen typically customers do is that they just create the file number and then they just create an instance of that within their local folder storage system. Right? Because imagine if this is your local storage and if you're trying to access this from a different device, it would not make any sense because it would be unable to connect to your local hard drive. Keep in mind, even if you use a third party, so let's say you move to China or Japan and then you're logging in from that country, once you have crossed the uLaw's security protocols, this connection will still remain because this is all cloud enabled. But if this is your local storage, and let's say your device is in Canada, but you're trying to access this from a different country, your local device does not have any internet connectivity to give access point to. And that's why that connection is hard to make. So what I would highly recommend is if you can recreate that entire experience, either within Google Drive or OneDrive, then you very much have all of that information available to you on the cloud. Okay, so it is just past 3 this afternoon. If there aren't any more questions for me to answer today, I do definitely want to thank you for participating in the webinar. Please do direct your questions if you have more with regards to document storage or other topics that we've covered in the past. Please direct them to support@ulawpractice.com. This particular webinar is being recorded and will be available on our YouTube channel as early as Monday. And thank you very much for participating. Have yourself a fantastic weekend. Look forward to speaking with you in our next webinar next Friday. Okay.